Welcome to the American Valor World War II channel. Subscribe to our channel because every day we publish stories about the valor of soldiers based on real events. Support us. Like our videos if you like what we do for you. April 1945. The spring air carries the distant thunder of artillery fire. The war is ending, but for 40,000 women imprisoned in Ravensbrück concentration camp, the final days will be the most terrifying. This story is based on testimonies given under oath, medical reports, military documents, and survivor accounts. The morning fog hangs low over the barracks of Ravensbrück, 90 kilometers north of Berlin. The camp, initially built to hold 3,000 prisoners, now confines over 40,000 women from across Europe. Their emaciated bodies move slowly across the muddy ground. The sound of coughing echoes between buildings. Death has become as commonplace as the sunrise. In the 6 years since its establishment in 1939, Ravensbrück has transformed from a detention facility into a factory of death. Women from 40 different nationalities suffer within its walls. Political prisoners, resistance fighters, Jews, Roma, Jehovah's Witnesses, and those deemed asocial by Nazi standards. The camp sits on the shores of Lake Schwett, its beauty a cruel contrast to the hell contained behind the electrified fences. SS Obersturmbannführer Fritz Suhren paces in his office. The wooden floor creaks beneath his polished boots. Maps are spread across his desk, marked with the advancing Soviet front. He knows what awaits him if captured. The telephone rings. Heil Hitler, he answers mechanically. The Russians have crossed the Oder. Berlin will fall within weeks. Prepare for evacuation procedures, comes the terse reply. Suhren hangs up and stares through the window at the camp below. His prison, his responsibility, his crime. Bring me Schwarzhuber, he orders his aide. Outside, the morning roll call begins. Women stand in rows of 5, skeletal figures shivering in the dawn chill. Many wear only thin striped dresses despite the cold April air. Their wooden clogs sink into the mud. SS guards move among them with dogs and whips, barking orders. Schneller! Schneller! A guard strikes a woman who moves too slowly. She falls but forces herself back to her feet. Those who cannot stand for roll call are often taken to the infirmary, a place few return from. In Block 11, prisoner 18763, a French resistance fighter named Simone, whispers to her bunkmate. The guards are nervous. Something is happening. They're burning papers in the commandant's office, replies Marie, a Polish political prisoner. I saw smoke all night. Simone's fingers, raw and cracked from labor, grip the thin blanket. If they evacuate us, we'll die on the march. We're too weak. If they don't, they'll kill us before they leave, Marie says flatly. Both women fall silent as a guard approaches. Get up! Roll call! The women rise from their bunks, 3-tier wooden platforms where they sleep 5 or 6 to a shelf designed for 2. The air inside the barracks is thick with the stench of unwashed bodies, disease, and despair. I don't think I can make it through another day, whispers an elderly Dutch woman in the lower bunk. Her legs, swollen with edema, hang uselessly over the edge. You must, Simone insists, helping her to her feet. We are close now. The Allies are coming. How do you know? The woman's eyes are clouded with cataracts. Listen to the guards. They are afraid. As they shuffle toward the door, they pass a woman who hasn't moved. Her open eyes stare at the ceiling, but they see nothing. During the night, she became the barracks' newest casualty. Should we tell them? Asks a young girl, no more than 16. No, Marie answers. Let her rest a bit longer. April 13, 1945, 22:30. In the commandant's quarters, Suhren meets with his second-in-command, Johann Schwarzhuber. They speak in low voices over schnapps, cigarette smoke clouding the air. Berlin has ordered the elimination of evidence, Suhren says, pouring another glass. All of it. Schwarzhuber doesn't need clarification. The crematorium can't handle that many, not quickly. Then we use other methods. Gas, bullets, whatever is necessary. Suhren downs his drink. The Soviets must find nothing. And transportation? We'll march those who can walk north. The Swedish Red Cross is negotiating for some prisoners, Scandinavians mainly. And the others? Suhren's eyes are cold. There will be no others. April 14, 1945, 6 o'clock. The morning count reveals 36 new deaths overnight. Bodies are stacked like firewood behind Block 32. There is no fuel to burn them. SS guard, Johann Schwarzhuber, walks among the rows of prisoners, his face revealing nothing as he inspects the skeletal women standing at attention. Lagerführerin Binz, he calls. Dorothea Binz, the feared overseer, approaches. At 25, she has earned a reputation for exceptional cruelty. Her dog, a German shepherd, strains at its leash, eager to attack. Begin preparations. Select the strongest for transport. The others? He makes a dismissive gesture. Binz smiles. Understood, Herr Schwarzhuber. She turns to her subordinates, German women who serve as capos, prisoner functionaries given power over other inmates in exchange for better treatment. You heard him. Begin selections immediately. A capo named Hertha approaches a row of prisoners. You, and you. She points at three women who look marginally stronger than the others. Step forward. A Ukrainian woman hesitates, not understanding the German command. I said move. Hertha strikes her across the face with a rubber truncheon. Blood spurts from the woman's nose as she staggers forward. Please, begs the woman next to her in broken German. She doesn't understand. Then you can join her. Hertha grabs the second woman by her thin gray hair and shoves her toward the group being selected. Across the yard, another capo makes her selections more quietly. Carmen, a Spanish political prisoner elevated to the position just weeks ago, tries to choose women she knows have friends or family, women with something to live for. Quickly now, she murmurs, guiding a trembling French girl into line. Don't draw attention. The girl's eyes widen in fear. What are they going to do to us? Work assignment, Carmen lies smoothly, seeing Binz watching from across the yard. Special detail. I can't work anymore, the girl whispers, panic rising in her voice. I'm too weak. You can and you will, Carmen hisses, her back to Binz. For one more day you will be strong. Now straighten up and look useful. In the camp infirmary, Dr. Percy Trete administers the last of the morphine to a dying Norwegian woman. He knows what evacuation means. He has seen the death marches from other camps. His medical training stands in stark contrast to the atrocities he has witnessed and participated in. Doctor, whispers a nurse, herself a prisoner. Is it true? Are we leaving? Trete closes the eyes of the woman who has just died. Pack the essential medical supplies. Leave the rest. The nurse looks at the rows of sick women. Most are suffering from typhus, dysentery, or tuberculosis. Others bear the marks of the cruel medical experiments conducted in the camp, bones broken and reset without anesthesia, muscles cut to simulate battlefield wounds, forced sterilizations. What about them? She asks, knowing the answer. Dr. Trete doesn't look up. I said pack the essential supplies. He moves to his office and unlocks a cabinet, removing a case of syringes and small glass vials. He will offer some patients a choice. A quick death now or the suffering of evacuation. He tells himself this is mercy. Outside the infirmary, a truck idles. SS men load boxes of documents and medical equipment. They work efficiently, without speaking. A gurney sits abandoned by the doorway, blood soaking through the thin mattress. In the garment factory where prisoners make uniforms for the German military, work continues despite the chaos. Supervisors push the women to meet impossible quotas, even as the war's end approaches. Faster, shouts an overseer, striking a woman's hands with a ruler as she struggles with a sewing machine. The Reich still needs uniforms. The woman, an Italian political prisoner named Lucia, grits her teeth and continues working, blood from her knuckles staining the gray fabric. Next to her, a Russian woman no older than 20 sways on her stool, close to fainting. Stay awake, Natasha, Lucia whispers urgently. If you fall, they'll take you away. Natasha's eyes flutter. I can't. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Here, Under the table, Lucia passes a small crust of bread, saved from her own meager ration. Take it. But you, take it. You need it more than I do today. By mid-afternoon, rumors spread through the camp. The Swedish Red Cross has negotiated the release of Scandinavian prisoners. Buses with white crosses painted on their roofs are reportedly heading toward Ravensbrück. It's a lie, says Irina, a Czech Jew, her face gaunt from starvation. They tell us this to keep us quiet while they prepare the gas. My cousin was in Auschwitz, adds another woman. They told them they were going for showers, for delousing. Then came the gas. No, this is different, argues a Danish prisoner named Inga. The Red Cross has been negotiating for months. Count Bernadotte himself is involved. And why would they save only Scandinavians? Irina challenges. What makes your lives worth more than ours? Inga has no answer. The Revere, infirmary, is overwhelmed with women suffering from typhus, tuberculosis, and malnutrition. The stench of infection permeates everything. Dr. Trita knows most of these women will not survive an evacuation. He takes a syringe from his pocket and contemplates its contents. For the suffering, he tells himself, to spare them the march. But he knows this mercy is just another form of murder. A Russian woman on a nearby cot sees the syringe in his hand and begins to scream, "Niet, niet, please, I want to live." Dr. Trita approaches, his face a mask. "Quiet now. This will help the pain." "I have no pain," she cries, trying to rise from the cot. "I am getting better." Her thin arms flail against him as he holds her down. Other patients watch in silent horror as she struggles, then goes still. "Next," Dr. Trita says quietly, filling another syringe. April 15, 1945, 8:45. In the camp's kitchen, prisoners prepare the daily ration, a thin turnip soup and a small piece of bread made mostly from sawdust. The women working in the kitchen are skeletal, like the others, but they sometimes manage to steal extra food, a dangerous privilege that can result in immediate execution if discovered. "They're emptying the storerooms," whispers a kitchen worker to Simone, who has been assigned to distribute bread. "Loading everything onto trucks." "The evacuation is real then," Simone says. The worker nods. "I heard them talking about buses coming, but not for everyone." Later, in the courtyard, an SS officer addresses the assembled prisoners. "Attention! The following prisoners will prepare for transport. All prisoners of Norwegian, Swedish, Danish nationality. Report to Block 1 after evening roll call with all belongings." A murmur passes through the crowd. For some, hope. For others, confirmation of their fears. "What about the rest of us?" someone dares to ask. The officer ignores the question. "Dismissed." As the women disperse, the guard turns to a colleague. "Begin preparations for the others. Those who can walk will march north tomorrow. And those who can't?" The officer's voice drops. "Special treatment. Tonight." April 16, 1945. 14:30. The sound of distant bombing grows closer. Berlin is under heavy assault. In her barracks, Simone hears the guards talking. They're saying Himmler has ordered no prisoner should fall into enemy hands alive. She translates for the others. A collective shudder runs through the women. They have survived years of hunger, disease, and brutality. To die now, days before liberation, seems an unbearable cruelty. "We need to hide," suggests a Dutch woman named Anna. "When the evacuation begins, we find places to conceal ourselves." "They'll use dogs, they'll find us," replies Marie. "Then we fight," Simone says quietly. The others stare at her as if she's lost her mind. "With what? Our bare hands?" asks Irina. Simone's eyes are fever-bright in her hollowed face. "If necessary." In the administration building, prisoners who work as clerks are ordered to destroy files. They feed page after page into burning barrels, watching as names and numbers, the bureaucratic record of atrocity, turn to ash. "They're covering their tracks," whispers one woman to another as they work. "They know what they've done." A guard stands nearby, watching impassively. Outside, the sound of trucks and shouting grows louder. In the evening, the Scandinavian prisoners gather their meager belongings. Some have been in the camp for years. Others arrived only months ago. All show the physical ravages of camp life. emaciated bodies, shaved heads, faces aged beyond their years. That night, the camp commandant receives new orders. Count Folke Bernadotte of the Swedish Red Cross has successfully negotiated with Himmler for the release of Scandinavian prisoners. The first buses will arrive the following day. Only the Scandinavians, Suhren clarifies over the crackling phone line. For now, comes the reply. Follow orders and prepare the rest for evacuation. In the darkness of their barracks, women from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden say tearful goodbyes to friends they've made in hell. Take this. A Norwegian woman named Solveig presses a small fabric doll into the hands of her Polish friend. To remember me. If you get out, the Polish woman whispers, tell the world what happened here. Solveig nods, her tears falling onto their clasped hands. April 17, 1945, 02:15. The sound of boots on gravel wakes the women in Block 23. The door crashes open. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. All sick prisoners, out, shouts a guard. Women stir in confusion. Those too ill to move are dragged from their bunks. Where are you taking them? A Belgian prisoner asks. Hospital transport, comes the curt reply. Special treatment. But everyone knows what special treatment means. As the sick are herded outside, their cries echo through the night. Then come the shots, single, precise, methodical. In Block 11, Simone and Marie lie rigid in their bunks, listening to the executions. They're killing everyone who can't march, whispers Marie, her voice barely audible. Simone's hand finds hers in the darkness. We stay strong. We walk, no matter what. Later that night, the camp's newly built gas chamber is put to use. Prisoners who had been isolated in the punishment block are told they're being transferred to another camp. Instead, they're led to a building near the crematorium. SS guards distribute small pieces of soap, a cruel deception to maintain the illusion of showers. Inside, 82 women crowd into a sealed room. Only when the door locks behind them do they realize the truth. Their screams go unheard as Zyklon B pellets are dropped through vents in the ceiling. The camp's burial detail, prisoners assigned to handle corpses, work through the night. They transport bodies from the gas chamber to the crematorium, from the shooting site to mass graves. The ovens burn continuously, black smoke rising into the night sky. Don't look at their faces, one burial worker advises a newcomer to the detail. It's easier if you don't see them as people. But the newcomer, a French resistance fighter, memorizes each face. Someone must remember, she says. Someone must testify. April 18, 1945, 08:30. At morning roll call, hundreds of prisoners are missing. No one asks where they are. The gaps in the rows tell the story. During work assignments, word spreads that the Soviets are now just 70 kilometers away. Hope and fear battle in equal measure. If they can survive a few more days, in the camp's punishment cells, 20 women await execution. They were caught attempting to sabotage work in the munitions factory, where prisoners manufactured artillery shells for the German war effort. They had been slowing production for months, creating defective ammunition whenever possible. SS Rottenführer Margareta Muse enters the cell block. Prisoner 24601. A French woman steps forward. Her face bears the marks of recent beatings. Do you confess to sabotage against the Reich? Muse demands. The woman stands straight despite her injuries. I confess to fighting Nazis in any way I could. Muse strikes her across the face with a truncheon. You will be shot at sunset. All of you will serve as an example. The prisoner spits blood onto the concrete floor. The Allies are coming. You will be the example. April 19, 1945, 10:20. The first white buses enter the camp gate. Swedish Red Cross workers stare in horror at the conditions. Women and girls, resembling living skeletons, stagger forward as their names are called from lists. Quickly, a Red Cross worker urges, helping a Norwegian prisoner onto the bus. We must leave before dark. An SS guard watches impassively, machine gun cradled in his arms. A Swedish nurse gasps as she helps a woman board. She can't weigh more than 30 kilos, she whispers to a colleague. There are thousands like her. The colleague replies grimly, and we can only take a few hundred today. As the buses begin to fill, women not on the list press against the cordon of guards, reaching out desperately. "Please," cries a Jewish prisoner from Hungary. "Take my daughter. She's only 14. "Back," orders a guard, striking the woman with his rifle butt. She falls but continues pleading from the ground. "Just my daughter, please." "I'll stay." The guard kicks her until she stops moving. On the buses, the rescued prisoners sit in stunned silence. Many are too weak to fully comprehend their salvation. Some clutch small bundles containing pathetic treasures, a spoon, a scrap of cloth, a photo saved through years of imprisonment. "I don't understand," a Danish woman says to a Red Cross worker. "Why us? Why only us?" The worker has no good answer. "Politics," she says finally, "but we're negotiating for more." Inside the commandant's office, Suhren receives word that Heinrich Himmler himself is considering broader evacuations through the Swedish Red Cross. The war is lost. Perhaps there is a way to use these prisoners as bargaining chips. "Prepare the French and Polish prisoners who worked in the administrative offices," Suhren orders. "We may need to transfer them next." Throughout the camp, selections continue. Those too weak to march are separated. Everyone knows what this means. In Block 27, Simone hears guards entering neighboring barracks during the night. Then comes the screaming, quickly silenced by gunshots. "They're killing the sick," she whispers to Marie. "We need to get out of our block." How? The work detail tomorrow. When we're outside, we slip away to the administrative building. They're selecting office workers for transport. Marie shakes her head. "It's too risky. Staying is certain death." In another block, preparations for resistance take shape. A small group of prisoners, former military women from various countries, have been planning for this moment. They've stolen small tools, sharpened spoons into weapons, gathered rocks. "If they come for us, we fight," declares a former French army lieutenant. "Better to die fighting than in the gas." "They have guns," points out a younger woman, "and dogs. And we have nothing to lose," replies the lieutenant. "Not anymore." April 20, 1945, 1645. Hitler's birthday. The camp flag is raised, and guards stand at attention for a ceremony. Many are drunk afterward, celebrating what everyone knows will be the Führer's last birthday. In their barracks, prisoners exploit the distraction. Food is stolen from the kitchen. Messages are passed between blocks. Small acts of defiance multiply as discipline breaks down. A prisoner who works in the radio room brings news. Berlin is surrounded. The Soviets are less than 60 kilometers away. American forces have linked up with the Russians at the Elbe River. "Days," she tells the others. "We only need to survive a few more days." That night, more executions. The 20 women from the punishment cells are taken to a wall near the crematorium. They sing the Marseillaise as they face the firing squad. Their bodies are burned immediately, but the story of their final defiance spreads through the camp. April 21st, 1945, 7:45. Soviet forces are now less than 50 kilometers from the camp. The sound of artillery is no longer distant. The SS guards grow increasingly agitated. Rumors of mass executions at other camps spread among the prisoners. Dr. Treite burns medical records in a metal trash can behind the infirmary. He has injected potassium chloride into the veins of 37 women, too sick to move. "Mercy," he keeps whispering to himself. "Mercy." A prisoner nurse watches from the doorway. "They were getting better," she says, her voice flat with accusation. "Some of them would have survived." Treite doesn't look at her. Not the evacuation, not what comes next. "You're afraid of witnesses," she says. "You're killing them to save yourself." He turns then, syringe still in hand. "Would you like to join them?" The nurse holds his gaze. "History will judge what you've done here." "History," Treite says bitterly, "is written by the survivors." Count Bernadotte's negotiations continue. More buses arrive. this time for French, Belgian, and Polish women. The selections are chaotic. Guards call names from incomplete lists. Women surge forward, desperate to be chosen. Simone Laurent! Simone freezes at the sound of her name. She clutches Marie's arm. Go, Marie urges. Go. Not without you. I'll be on the next transport. Go. With tears streaming down her face, Simone joins the group of selected prisoners. As she boards the white bus, she looks back, trying to find Marie in the crowd. But there are too many faces, too many desperate eyes watching her leave. I'll find you, she shouts. After the war, I'll find you. The bus departs, carrying Simone and 200 others toward freedom. They drive north, passing columns of German troops retreating in the opposite direction. The war's outcome is clear to everyone now. In the bus, a Red Cross doctor moves among the women, assessing their condition. Many need immediate medical attention. Some may not survive even with care. Where are you taking us? Asks a Belgian woman, her voice hoarse from disuse. Sweden, the doctor replies. You'll be safe there until the war ends. My sister, the woman whispers. She's still in there. The doctor can only clasp her hand in silent sympathy. Back at Ravensbrück, final preparations for evacuation begin. Remaining prisoners are divided into columns of 500, each under the supervision of armed SS guards with dogs. Tomorrow at dawn, announces Schwarzhuber at the evening roll call. Be ready to march. Anyone who falls behind will be shot. In the darkness of their barracks, women prepare as best they can. Extra rags are torn to wrap blistered feet. The last morsels of hoarded food are consumed for strength. Final goodbyes are said to those too weak to march, who will remain behind. If you make it, whispers a dying woman to her friend, go to Vienna, find my daughter, tell her I thought of her every day. I will, promises her friend. I will find her. A French resistance fighter named Odette distributes small hand-drawn maps she has secretly created. If you get separated from the column, she explains, head northwest. The Americans are coming from that direction. Marie studies the crude map by moonlight. How far would we have to walk? 50 kilometers, maybe more, Odette admits. But it's possible. Not for most, Marie says, looking around at the emaciated women. Few of us can walk 5 kilometers, let alone 50. Odette's face hardens. Then we help each other. No one gets left behind. April 22nd, 1945, 05 o'clock. The evacuation begins. Thousands of women shuffle through the camp gates, a procession of the walking dead. Many have tied rags around their feet, lacking proper shoes. Others support friends or sisters who can barely stand. SS guards flank the columns, dogs straining at their leashes. Schneller! Move faster! The morning air is cold. Breath forms clouds in front of pale faces. No one knows their destination, only that they are marching north, away from the advancing Soviets. Marie finds herself in the middle of a column, surrounded by Polish and French prisoners. They've been given no food, no water for the journey. Some carry small containers, a cup, a jar, hoping to collect rainwater along the way. Keep moving, whispers the woman beside her. No matter what, keep moving. The column stretches for kilometers. From her position, Marie can't see the beginning or the end of it. Just an endless line of striped uniforms and shaved heads, moving like a wounded serpent along the country road. Behind them, Ravensbrück continues its death throes. Those too sick to march are executed. Buildings are rigged with explosives. Evidence is destroyed. A skeleton crew of SS personnel remain to complete the camp's liquidation before fleeing themselves. By midday, the column has covered only 8 kilometers. Already bodies line the route. An elderly woman collapses, unable to go further. A guard approaches, pistol drawn. No one watches as he fires a single shot. The column moves on. A light rain begins to fall. Women tilt their faces upward, catching precious drops on their tongues. The unpaved road turns to mud, making each step more difficult. Keep close, Odette murmurs to the group of French women she's traveling with. We stay together, no matter what. As they pass through a small village, German civilians watch from windows and doorways. Some turn away. Others stare in horrified fascination. A few brave souls attempt to throw bread to the prisoners, but are quickly driven back by the guards. "Animals!" shouts a guard at an old woman who approached too close. "These are dangerous criminals." The old woman looks at the skeletal prisoners, at the guards with their dogs and guns. Her eyes say she knows who the criminals are. By nightfall, the column has covered 15 kilometers. They are herded into an empty barn for the night. No food is distributed, no water, no sanitation. Women collapse onto the straw-covered floor, too exhausted to speak. "We'll never survive this," whispers a woman near Marie. "Not all the way to wherever they're taking us." "The Allies are coming," Marie reminds her. "We just need to stay alive long enough for them to find us." Outside, guards set up a perimeter. They light cigarettes, pass bottles of schnapps. Their conversation drifts through the barn's thin walls. "How much further are we supposed to take them?" asks one. "Schwerin, maybe Lübeck," replies another. "Wherever we can hand them over to the Navy, they're going to put them on ships." "Ships to where?" A harsh laugh. "Does it matter? They'll scuttle them in the Baltic. No prisoners, no witnesses." Inside the barn, those who understand German exchange horrified glances. The rumor spreads quickly. They are being marched to their deaths at sea. "We have to escape," Odette says decisively. "Tonight." April 23, 1945, 02:30. Under cover of darkness, Odette leads a small group of women through a gap in the barn's wooden slats. The opening is tiny. Their emaciated bodies an advantage for once. They crawl through mud behind the building, freezing when guard dogs bark in the distance. "This way," Odette whispers, leading them toward the cover of trees 100 meters away. Marie hesitates. "What about the others?" "We can't help them if we're dead," Odette says harshly. "We escape, we find the Allies, we bring help." 10 women slip away into the night. Back in the barn, those who remain prepare for mourning, knowing some of their number won't rise again after the night's cold. At dawn, guards discover the escape. Fury erupts. The remaining prisoners are forced outside into the rain, made to kneel in the mud. "Who helped them?" demands an officer. "Tell us or 10 of you die." Silence. Rain mixes with tears on hollow cheeks. The officer pulls 10 women from the group at random. They are shot in full view of the others, their bodies left where they fall. "Continue!" barks the officer. The march resumes, the column now smaller by 20. 10 escaped, 10 executed. April 23, 1945, 1910. Commandant Suhren receives new orders. The camp must be evacuated immediately. All remaining prisoners are to be marched northward, away from the advancing Soviet forces. "And if they cannot march?" asks Schwarzhuber. Suhren doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. That night, the SS guards begin moving through the camp, forcing women out of the barracks. "Everyone out! Schnell! Schnell!" The evacuation begins in chaos. Thousands of women, many barely able to stand, are forced into columns. Guards with machine guns and dogs flank the procession. Marie finds herself in a column of Polish women. They have no food, no water, no information about where they are going. The only certainty is that those who fall behind will be shot. "Keep moving," whispers the woman beside her. "No matter what, keep moving." As the columns of prisoners snake out of the camp gates, guards remain behind. Their orders are clear. Eliminate evidence. The night sky glows orange as documents burn. Bodies of the dead and dying are doused with gasoline. The crematorium works at full capacity. In the nearby village of Fürstenberg, German civilians watch as smoke rises from the camp. They have lived in proximity to atrocity for 6 years, turning blind eyes and deaf ears to the evidence of mass murder in their midst. "What's happening at the camp?" a child asks her mother. "Nothing," the mother replies, closing the curtains. "Nothing that concerns us." April 24th, 1945, 5:30. Dawn breaks over the columns of women trudging northward. Already bodies line the route, those who couldn't keep pace, those who tried to escape. The column moves forward, each woman focused only on placing one foot in front of the other. Marie stumbles. Her legs, swollen from edema, threaten to buckle. The woman behind pushes her forward. "Don't stop," she hisses. "They're shooting everyone who stops." A gunshot rings out behind them. No one turns to look. By midday, hundreds have fallen. The road is a trail of death. Marie's mouth is so dry her tongue feels like wood. Her vision blurs. Each step requires all her concentration. "Listen," says the woman beside her. At first, Marie hears nothing beyond the shuffling of feet and occasional gunfire. Then she registers it. Engine noise, growing louder. "Vehicles," someone whispers, "coming from the north." Panic ripples through the column. Guards shout, unsure whether to continue or turn back. The prisoners slow, then stop, despite threats. The first tanks appear over the hill ahead. Not German. Soviet. "Run!" someone screams. "The guards will kill us all!" The column dissolves into chaos. Women scatter in all directions. Guards fire indiscriminately. Bodies fall. Marie dives into a roadside ditch, covering her head as bullets whiz overhead. The sound of tank fire drowns out the screams. When Marie dares to look, she sees Soviet soldiers engaging the SS guards. The air fills with smoke and the smell of gunpowder. A hand grabs her arm. Marie screams, expecting death. Instead, she finds herself looking into the face of a young Soviet soldier. "Come," he says in halting German. "Safe now." Other Soviet troops move along the road, gathering survivors, providing water, blankets. Some women weep. Others are too shocked to respond. Many embrace their liberators, skeletal arms encircling startled young men who have seen the horrors of the Eastern Front, but nothing like this. "Who are you?" asks a Soviet captain through a translator. "Where have you come from?" "Ravensbrück," Marie answers, her voice a croak from thirst. "The women's camp. There are thousands more behind us, and others still in the camp." The captain confers rapidly with his officers. Orders are given. Tanks and troops head south, toward Ravensbrück. April 25, 1945, 11:45. Back at Ravensbrück, Commandant Suhren and his senior officers prepare to flee. They've changed into civilian clothes. Their papers give them new identities. "The remaining prisoners?" asks an officer. "No witnesses," Suhren replies coldly. But they're too late. Soviet reconnaissance units have already reached the camp perimeter. The sound of gunfire erupts from the main gate. In the confusion, hundreds of prisoners who had been hidden or left behind emerge from barracks and hiding places. Among them is Irina, the Czech prisoner who had been too weak to join the march. Soviet soldiers stare in shock at the emaciated women, at the piles of unburied corpses, at the still smoldering evidence of mass murder. "My God," says a Soviet captain, removing his hat. "What happened here?" Irina steps forward. "This is Ravensbrück," she says simply. "This is what they did to us." The captain, a veteran of Stalingrad, has tears in his eyes. "You're safe now," he tells her, offering his canteen. "The war is almost over." Irina takes a sip of water. For us, it ended long ago. Throughout the camp, Soviet soldiers discover evidence of atrocities. The gas chamber with its canisters of Zyklon B, the crematorium still warm, the medical block with its instruments of torture disguised as research. They document everything with cameras and notebooks, collecting evidence for the war crimes trials they know will follow. In the commandant's office, they find half-burned documents, abandoned in haste, maps showing the locations of other camps, lists of prisoners transferred, executed, experimented upon. The bureaucracy of genocide, meticulously recorded. A young lieutenant discovers the clothing depot, thousands of garments taken from prisoners upon their arrival, sorted and stored. Women's dresses, coats, shoes, children's clothing. Though there were officially no children at Ravensbrück, the evidence tells a different story. "We found a mass grave," reports a soldier. "Fresh, hundreds of bodies. And prisoners hiding in the woods nearby," adds another. "They say there are more." The captain issues orders. Establish a field hospital. Begin registering survivors. Secure all documents as evidence. In Fürstenberg, German civilians suddenly discover their humanity. They bring food, clothing, medical supplies. They claim ignorance of what happened in the camp. Some are sincere, Others are simply afraid of Soviet retribution. We never knew, insists a local doctor to a Soviet medical officer. We thought it was a work camp, nothing more. The medical officer, examining a prisoner with surgical scars from experimental procedures, looks at him with contempt. And you never questioned why they needed so many crematoriums for a work camp. April 26, 1945. Soviet and American war correspondents arrive at Ravensbrück. They interview survivors, photograph evidence, file reports that will shock the world. It's worse than we imagined, writes one. And this was a women's camp, supposedly less severe than the others. Survivors gather in groups by nationality, seeking familiar faces, confirming who lived and who died. Lists of names circulate. Information is shared about other camps, other evacuations, other survivors. Has anyone seen my sister? Asks a Belgian woman, showing a pre-war photograph. She was in Block 15. The French women from Block 11? Inquires another. Did any of them survive the march? There are few answers. Too many are missing. Too many will never be found. April 27, 1945. Marie and thousands of other survivors from the Death March are gathered in a field hospital established by Soviet forces. Medical personnel move among them, documenting their conditions, treating the most urgent cases. Name? Asks a Soviet nurse, clipboard in hand. Marie Kazmarek, she replies, her voice barely audible. Nationality? Polish. Camp? Ravensbrück. The nurse makes a note, then pauses. How long? 2 years, 7 months, 18 days. The nurse's hand trembles slightly as she writes. We'll get you home, she says. But both women know many of these survivors have no homes to return to, no families waiting. A doctor examines Marie, cataloging her injuries and ailments. Severe malnutrition, edema, tuberculosis, untreated fractures in her right foot, scars consistent with beatings. You need rest, he tells her through a translator, and proper food. Your body has consumed itself. Marie nods weakly. The others, from my transport? Many survived, the doctor assures her. Rest now. In another field hospital, Simone, evacuated on the Swedish Red Cross bus, receives her first proper meal in years. Her hands shake so badly she can barely hold the spoon. A doctor has explained they must eat slowly, in small amounts, or their bodies will reject the food. Have you heard anything about the others? She asks a Swedish volunteer. The women left behind at Ravensbrück. The volunteer looks away. We're still gathering information. Rest now. But Simone can read the truth in her face. Not everyone made it out. In a hospital bed nearby, a Norwegian survivor dictates a letter to a Red Cross worker. To the families of Block 7, Ravensbrück, I write to confirm the following prisoners were alive when I left on April 19. She recites names from memory, determined that families will know the fate of their loved ones. It's the first of many such letters she will write in the coming weeks. April 28, 1945. The International Red Cross expands its presence at Ravensbrück. More medical personnel arrive. Registration of survivors continues. Documentation of war crimes proceeds methodically. In Sweden, the first evacuees begin to recover. Some are already giving testimony to war crimes investigators. Their statements are recorded, translated, filed for future trials. They must pay, insists a Dutch survivor to an American officer taking her statement. All of them, the guards, the doctors, even the secretaries who typed the death lists. They all knew what they were doing. The officer nods, continuing to write. We'll find them, he promises. No matter how far they run, we'll find them. In Germany, as news of the camp liberations spreads, former Nazi officials destroy evidence, change their identities, flee toward borders. Some seek help from sympathizers. Others use money and valuables stolen from their victims to buy new papers, new names, new lives. SS Obersturmbannführer Fritz Suhren is on the run, dressed as a Wehrmacht private. Johann Schwarzhuber has shaved his distinctive mustache and poses as a factory worker. Dorothea Binz has dyed her hair and found refuge with relatives in a rural area. Dr. Percy Trait carries forged papers identifying him as a refugee doctor from East Prussia. They believe they can escape justice. They are wrong. April 30th, 1945. As the Red Army secures the area around Ravensbrück, investigators begin documenting the atrocities. They photograph the conditions, the mass graves, the instruments of torture. They take statements from survivors, creating a record for the war crimes trials that will follow. SS Obersturmbannführer Fritz Suhren has fled, but will be captured by American forces in May. Johann Schwarzhuber will be arrested by British troops. Dorothea Binz is found hiding on a farm. Dr. Percy Trait is identified while posing as a refugee. They will all face justice at the Hamburg-Ravensbrück trials in 1946-47. In the camp, Soviet and American journalists document what they find. Their reports will shock the world. Photographers capture images that will serve as eternal testimony to human cruelty and survival. Soviet troops continue to find prisoners who had hidden in the forests surrounding the camp. Some had been there for days, surviving on bark and roots, too afraid to believe the liberation was real. They told us it was a trick, explains one woman when found, that the Soviets would kill us too. Gradually, the survivors begin to trust their liberators. They emerge from hiding. They share information about the camp, about the guards, about what they witnessed. There were experiments, testifies a Polish survivor, sterilizations, bone transplants, muscle removals, all without anesthesia. They selected the beautiful girls for the brothels, reports another. Forced prostitution for the SS men and privileged prisoners at male camps. Public hangings for anyone who broke the rules, adds a third. They made us all watch. The testimonies fill notebook after notebook. The evidence mounts. The full horror of Ravensbrück emerges from the shadows. May 2, 1945. Simone sits in a recovery center in Sweden, writing names on a piece of paper. All the women she can remember from Block 11. She doesn't know who survived and who didn't. This list is her act of remembrance. A nurse approaches with a telegram. Simone opens it with trembling fingers. Marie Kazmarek, alive, stop. Recovering in Soviet field hospital, stop. Tears stream down Simone's face. One friend at least has survived. In the Soviet field hospital, Marie dictates a letter to a volunteer. To anyone searching for information about prisoners from Ravensbrück, she begins, I have survived. I have names. I have testimony. I will bear witness. Her voice grows stronger as she speaks, naming those who tortured, those who killed, those who turned away. She describes the final days, the evacuation, the death march. She bears witness for those who cannot. They wanted no survivors, she concludes. They wanted no one to tell what happened there. But we lived, and we will tell the world. The Ravensbrück concentration camp was liberated by the Soviet Army on April 30th, 1945. Of the approximately 130,000 women who were imprisoned there between 1939 and 1945, an estimated 30,000 to 50,000 perished from disease, starvation, medical experiments, and execution. The evacuation in the final weeks led to thousands of additional deaths. While the Swedish Red Cross successfully evacuated about 7,500 prisoners in the famous White Buses operation, many others were forced on death marches or murdered in the camp's gas chamber before liberation. Following the war, the Hamburg-Ravensbrück trials held by British military courts resulted in 11 death sentences, including camp commandant Fritz Suhren and deputy commander Johann Schwarzhuber, 19 prison sentences of varying lengths, 1 acquittal. Dorothea Binz, notorious for her cruelty, was executed by hanging on May 2, 1947. Dr. Percy Trait was sentenced to death but committed suicide in his cell before the sentence could be carried out. Today, the former concentration camp is a memorial site and museum. The preserved buildings, exhibitions, and archives serve as a solemn reminder of the atrocities committed there. Every year, survivors, their numbers dwindling with time, return to commemorate those who died and to ensure the world never forgets what happened at Ravensbrück. Many of the women who survived built new lives across Europe, America, and elsewhere. They married, had children, and grandchildren. Some spoke publicly about their experiences, others never could. All carried the physical and psychological scars of what they had endured. The story of Ravensbrück is not just one of horror, but also of extraordinary female resilience and solidarity. Women of different nationalities, religions, and backgrounds formed bonds that helped many survive when death seemed inevitable. In the darkest place imaginable, acts of courage, compassion, and resistance provided glimpses of humanity. As survivor Charlotte Delbo wrote, "I'm not alive. I died in Ravensbrück. No one notices that I'm dead." Yet in their testimony, in the records they left behind, and in our remembrance, these women live on. Thank you for listening. If you are also proud of the bravery of soldiers, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on new historical stories.